they can't raise enough money to get their drugs through the regulatory process, which is a nightmare for these small companies. I mean, it's probably the single biggest factor that pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies have to overcome is the regulation. I mean, that is an enormous cost. Yeah, Mariana.
Hi, sorry, the line went
Yeah.
dead for some reason.
Yeah, I was asking the question. So, have you ever worked at a pharmaceutical company or a biotech company?
No, have you ever worked in? I mean, see, I don't understand why you have to put it that way. The point is, there's different types of private sector organizations. There's different types of public sector organizations. I would be stupid to just defend any public sector organization. That's not my point. My point that is that economists and hence the policymakers that listen to them haven't had the framework through which to understand in an objective, non-ideological way the role that the state can play potentially. You are absolutely right. There's many places in the world, including in the U.S., different states and cities where there's problems within state institutions.
Well, I
That's
don't
not
think.
The point.
See,
the point
I don't
is,
think.
Silicon Valley, which is often sold to people as the sort of market-making example of the engine of growth, was hugely benefited from state investments, which went even beyond just funding the basic research.
No, it didn't.
Sorry?
No, all of these companies collectively would have been better off if there was no state funding at all.
Listen,
if the state funding hadn't taken place.
You're not interested in evidence.
No, I'm not.
You are not interested. So who funded Google's algorithm? You tell me, since you know so much. Who funded Google's algorithm?
So you don't think
tell me,
that
though. Answer the question. Answer the question. Who funded the algorithm behind Google?
I don't know where they got
Who funds 75% of the most innovative drugs? The state. Who funded the internet?
First of all, there's a myth out there that this government didn't fund the internet and it didn't invent the internet. The internet was invented by Xerox. They invented the Ethernet to connect their copiers to computers, and then the Pentagon had it.
Massive state investments in DARPA. In fact, Xerox PARC.
No, this is nonsense that it was the state that did it. It was the free market that did it. The government, the Pentagon sat on the internet, and basically nothing happened until 1995 when they finally privatized it. It was the private sector that developed the internet. The government had no clue what was going on with the internet, and they didn't invent the components that made it possible. But my point to you about you never worked at a pharmaceutical company, you never worked at a biotech company. I've invested in those companies. But, if you are you're an economist sitting behind a desk somewhere trying to say that government isn't a stifling force, isn't a force that builds roadblocks. Yes, it is. It is the most powerful destructive force in the U.S. economy, in any economy. I mean, getting out from under government, if you're in a biotech company or pharmacy, that is your single biggest cost is government, is complying with government rules and regulations. The billions and billions of dollars that the industry has to spend.
When would you put, if you want, as a date when the whole biotech revolution happened? What years would you say?
When did biotech come? There's no.
What decade?
When did it start?
What decade? See, you're not interested in history.
I think a lot.
And by you, I mean the people that you are catering to. You have a political point, and you will push it by any means necessary. Not interested in any of the evidence.
Mariana, I have an economic point. I have an economic point, not a political point. It's an economic point.
It's a political point because unlike you, am not saying that the state is always good. Okay, what I'm saying is that we should try to actually understand those parts of the world, which you are right, by the way, is unfortunately, less and less so the U.S. What actually leads to innovation? How can we actually build functional and symbiotic ecosystems between the public and private sector? Because you are very right to talk about Xerox PARC. That was an amazing private sector organization which actually did invest its profits into research, into human capital. It was a great place to work.
But Mariana, that happens.
Cisco today spends more money on buying back its shares than on the kind of things that Xerox PARC spend its money on. So the problem is not state versus
Mariana,
private. It's what kind of private.
That is, Mariana, you're talking, that's because of the Fed. That's because interest rates are too low and they're flooding the economy with cheap money, and so they're using it to buy back stock. Yes, that I am not in favor of this centrally planned economy that we have right now that is stifling free market innovation. The way we have innovation and invention is based on capitalism. It's based on incentive. It's based on the profit motive. It's based on people trying to get rich and trying to figure out how to supply consumers.
Okay, don't talk about these completely abstract
things. That's where it comes from.
Innovation takes 15 to 20 years. 15 to 20 years from start to finish.
But what inspires it? It's inspired. It's inspired by profit.
Talk the whole time on your shows?
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty
if
much,
you ask someone from London to speak to you, I'd think you'd like to at least listen to what they have to say. I mean, I assume your listeners listen to you all the time.
Well,
what I'm trying to say is innovation takes a long time. It takes 20 years.
But what is the inspiration?
That are willing to actually go for that long, as opposed to get the returns in 2 to 3 years.
But what is government?
So the government
what does government have to do with it?
Providing patient capital, patient finance is what you need.
No, you need private investors. The government didn't finance. Look, you got to go back and study your history of the 19th century. Look at all the things that we invented that took a long time. None of it involved government. You know, it's the private sector. There's plenty of long-term investors.
And you don't need me, because I'm not a historian. You don't need me to tell you the history of the internet. There's plenty of books.
You're an intellectual.
Sorry?
Yeah, but we'll read some of them. You know, you got to get into the real world instead of just trying to rationalize a big role for government, because you're the one that's got politics on the mind, not me. I'm objective. You're just trying to approach things from a left-wing perspective of why we need more government. And I think we need more free enterprise. But, hey, thanks for coming on the show. Good luck with your book. We got a break. We'll be right back after this.